Hi everyone, I'm Moritz, and I'm responsible for product management at Shopware. And if people ask me what I'm actually doing my whole day, I'm always answering. I try to speak to as many users as possible, understand their challenges, understand what they actually want to achieve with Shopware, and try to solve that with our product strategy and with the product updates we're delivering. And today I want to talk about the things we shipped since the last community day and how they fit within our strategy. So maybe some of you also attended last year's talk from me, and I showed you this slide back then. It's about a pattern I see with a lot of e-commerce projects, and I think some of you can find also your project within these patterns. I call it like the life cycle trap. We see a lot of projects that start using Shopware, start implementing a lot of integrations, customizations, front-end changes, and all of these changes and added features you're providing are piling up. And at one point, you're facing updates, breaking changes, and it really becomes hard for you to do this update because either way, you need to pay a lot of money to make all these changes compatible with the newest version. Or you're thinking about, maybe I'm replatforming because I also can't spend that money on that. And obviously, we want to prevent that, and we are investing a lot into tools and best practices to avoid you falling into this trap. And this is also part of my talk today as well. So I want to show how we progressed on that and how we managed to address that with our product portfolio. At the same time, and it's also partly a slide from last year's talk from me, we talked back then to a lot of customers and they all told us they are facing a lot of manual processes, rising costs, and also not enough people to handle basically everything that's necessary to handle. And maintaining the shop back then was just becoming as expensive than than building it. And on top of that, people faced constant tech pressure, legal changes, update requirements, and so on. But I also feel that this discussion has changed. When I talk to a lot of people now, you're mostly eager to explore how AI can help you reducing costs and make you more productive. And I think that's an amazing thing that happened within this year is that we moved this into something more productive. Rather than like seeing the whole world changing, we are now adapting to how we can use tools to make it more productive and tackle these challenges that are upcoming. And this slide was part of last year's keynote, and I think in a similar version also in this year's keynote. There's a lot of things changing, and all of us can feel it with the upcoming AI investments and AI changes that every one of us feels every day. There's like this old world of commerce and this new world of commerce. We don't know exactly what will be part of this new world, when it will happen, and how it will pan out in the end. But we already feel that a lot of things are changing. And the economics are changing. Developer hours are dropping a lot. Nobody wants to build a huge, costly project anymore. Companies want to scale without scaling the people. Product discovery is fundamentally changing with all the new LMMs and product discovery via LMMs. Then there's generative engine optimization that enters the game and everyone needs to care about. And also, as I said, developer hours are dropping a lot, features are getting cheaper, and so on. So all we need to know is that we need to prepare for this change, and this is also part of my talk today. What is Shopware actually doing to prepare you for that change? And the main reason is, I think commerce is being rebuilt around data, AI, and agents. So what does that actually mean? The central piece is for me, data is context. And every LMM, every AI, everything needs data to work best. They need to know about your business, products, features, but also the prices you're offering, the APIs you're offering. So data is becoming more and more the central currency within this new era. And LMMs really care about how accessible data is, how available data is. Is it in good quality? Is it structured in a machine-readable format? And also you start worrying about how do I govern and orchestrate all this data coming together? How I make sure that only the agent that needs to access this data is able to access this data. And also, if you look at how e-commerce is historically positioned, on one area you have like our open source heritage, and also code is part of this context. So we're also having a strategic advantage by being open source in this new era as well. And at the same time, historically, e-commerce is the place where most of the data comes together because you need to surface as to shoppers. You can even say, back then, you created context for shoppers. And in this new era, it's just the new user that comes into the game, that is agents and AI. And also they need context, and you need to create that context. So if you look at how this integration mess is currently looking like, I know that from a lot of projects, it's always a hassle to connect all of the backend systems, get the data to your Shopware shop, get the data synchronization working, bidirectional, making sure that everything is always in the most recent format. So integrations are costly and most of the time not always reliable. So, and within this new agentic commerce era, even agents coming into the game, and even more different pieces need to talk to each other, exchange data with each other, so this whole integration complexity intensifies. And this is the reason why we've built Shopware Nexus. I think you saw it in the keynote. Shopware Nexus is the central piece of our orchestration platform that really unlocks the true potential of agentic commerce by bringing data together. And it helps you to connect different systems, exchange data with different systems. It also supports you by getting workflows and automation up and running, whereas what you see is what you get interface. And everything of that is embedded with AI, so you can use AI to generate data mappings and also to generate workflows. So it really supports you also to set up these workflows and data exchanges without the need for too much technical knowledge. So what is the future outlook for Nexus? And it's especially about connectors. We want to make sure that we offer a broad range of connectors in addition to what we initially support. So we will continue building some of that on our own. There will be an open source model where you also can bring your own connectors, because we also know from customers there are niche softwares that not everyone is using, but is something you need for your specific business area, and you want to connect and get data from it to Shopware. So that will also be possible, bring your own connector. And in the future, we can also imagine having a bit of marketplace around Shopware Nexus that also makes it possible for integration providers to offer their own integrations as well. So the first part of my talk was about how context is created, because context is the new currency, but with all the context that you at one point create in your online shop, with all the data bringing together, you need an interface that makes sure that this data can be consumed by machines, agents, AIs. And this is where MCP comes into the game. MCP is now available in Shopware, can be used by all of you, and it helps you to set guardrails for agents to interact with your data, and also make sure that agents can explore your data and can explore your APIs and talk to your APIs. It's all based on the default permissions Shopware is offering, and it's, as I said, part of the core and can be now used by you. In the first part, as I said, I talked about machine-to-machine interaction, data connections, and also how this data can be consumed. But we're also seeing that the life of developers is changing. And if you talk to developers here today, you will find a lot of developers that can tell you AI is helping them a lot in their daily work. I heard about developers that basically as a daily routine sets up a lot of agents, and the agents are doing the work. So what is the role of the developer of the future? It's for sure setting the right intent. It's about judging the output, because you can't always trust AI. And also you need to make sure that you design the system that writes the code. So basically setting up the right rules and guardrails for the system that actually writes the code, and being in charge of directing the system that's writing the code. So you may ask yourself, but what is the purpose of the platform when code is becoming cheap, right? So when code is becoming cheap, I personally feel like the platform is the place where we need to ensure best practices, stability, and structure that keeps this massive amount of code that is generated more and more from becoming debt. And in the end, keeps you from falling into this lifecycle trap by just piling up new features, writing a lot of code, and at one point facing breakage changes. So what are we doing to preventing you falling into this trap and creating technical debt? One thing is our Shopware CLI. And the Shopware CLI is a unified interface that developers can interact with, that helps you with development, deployment, updating Shopware, maintaining Shopware, and that all within your terminal. It also helps you to enforce best practices. There are toolings that help you with updates of extensions, rewriting code according to breaking changes, and ultimately, for sure, also lowering your total cost of ownership. And all within a central terminal, basically the place where also the developer is working. The second part that is also interesting for the CLI is, as soon as you have a CLI, it's also possible for agents to use the CLI to interact with your platform. So that's the second positive thing on that. But you can even get a whole platform of infrastructure from us. So that is one step further. You can get a tooling, a bunch of tooling from us that helps you operating Shopware. And our PaaS is fully integrated with our ecosystem, built on best practices and delivered via AWS. We take care of the infrastructure and the platform, and you take care of the application and the customizations. And it helps you reduce dependencies, especially to third parties, as well as sharing the responsibility on running Shopware with us and bringing us also closer to the success of your online shop. And the third pillar of how we want to prevent technical debt is that we also restructured our storefront components and content API. That's something that we introduced quite recently because we know that storefront changes, especially in a trick storefront, are always heavy. If you look back at our accessibility changes we did for the legal requirements, we know that a lot of customers needed to do a lot of changes, needed to face a lot of breaking changes we were needed to introduce. So we also thought about how we can make the storefront less break heavy, and therefore we introduced the storefront components, and they are really meant to avoid breaking changes while making everything more extendable and at the same time more stable. And also the content API helps differentiating the actual content from the HTML structure, and therefore also bringing us closer to LMMs that might only want to consume the content in the future and not just like the whole structure of the website. So it's also possible to use the content API to share your data with other sources. So now I think we're coming to the more interesting part. I also want to talk about features, obviously, in my product news talk. So every feature we've built is one less you need to build yourself. And the first one I want to talk about is product bundles. That's something we launched 2 versions ago. And it helps you grouping existing products. You can add them to your cart. There will be individual stock calculations. You can set up prices for the bundles. And also there's a new layout piece for the shopping experiences where you can teaser these bundles. And soon there will be also support for selecting the variants in the storefront. So you also can have multi-variant products within the bundle. The second part is part of our B2B components, also announced at the last community day. It's the individual pricing piece. We know that from a lot of B2B projects, pricing is always really complex. Pricing is also something that is most of the time a hassle in B2B projects. So individual pricing helps you to solve that. You can set up rules, and when these rules are met, certain prices will be applied. You can also do product-based discounts with this feature or time-based discounts. And it's connected to our organizational unit extension as well, so that you also can do it on org unit level or even on employee level if you want to. The second B2B feature is multi-hierarchies. That's currently in the works and will be released soon. From the last community day, we launched our organizational units feature, and we gathered some feedback from you, and you basically said, oh, we need to go a bit further. We also want to have sub-levels of organizational units, so that's also possible with this feature. So I can also group my employees now in subunits. It helps you to inherit some of the parent settings and then change some of the individual settings for the subunits. And especially also something we heard from a lot of customers, sometimes it's necessary that one employee is able to log into multiple companies. And one of the use cases we see there is that there are sales agents that are working actually for your customers, not for you. And they have multiple clients they buy something for. So they need to impersonate multiple companies within your online shop and then do some checkouts for them. And that will also be possible with this feature as well. The third part of my B2B section is explosion graphics. That's now part of immersive elements. You can now also use explosion graphics within the shopping experiences. Explosion graphics is basically you have a 3D model that you can spread out and then show the individual products this model contains of. It helps you to find spare parts. You can link to different product pages. So it really helps you to explain and explore really complex products. And you can also combine it with our CAD to 3D conversion that you then also get ready to use models into the online shop when you are a manufacturer, for example. So as outlook on the B2B, there's more we're working on. We are currently working on extending the quote feature for versioning and auto item-based discounts. We're working on a document portal where all of the documents of a customer comes together and showing it as a single point of truth. And also giving more blueprints for dynamic pricing, because sometimes we know that prices are coming from the ERP system live and are not stored within Shopware. So also for that purpose, we want to make sure that you have something you can rely on and shows you best practices on how to do it. We also did a lot more, and obviously I don't have a slide for everything we've did, but I just want to mention a few things. We worked on migration tooling to make the migration faster and more reliant. We worked on import-export, also improved the performance of import-export. We did a lot of documents improvement when it comes to accessibility and legal support, for example, for Zugpferd. We also did a lot of search improvements together with our partner GWS in the B2B space. If you're having a lot of products with similar names, you can now configure it more granularly with this new setup. We also worked on legal requirements for our returns. There was a requirement on return forms. I'm sure most of you are aware of that. We added more analytics to our analytics extension, JSON LD support for the structured data. Also, we started adding new blocks and new features to the shopping experiences as well. And obviously, we also did a lot more. If you want to know all of them, go through our release news. I just wanted to mention a few of them as well. And also something you saw maybe in the keynote, we released our platform-native payment solution, Shopware Payments. And I mention it here because it's also helping you to reduce, on one hand, third-party dependencies, and on the other side, it's a service. And the good thing, if you're having a service, is that we're taking care of the updates and you don't need to do anything. You don't need to do plugin updates or something like that. We're taking care of everything in the background. You always have the most recent version, and it also helps you to just reduce third-party dependencies, and also you don't need to have a developer to get it working and get it updated. So we talked a lot about features and then coming more features as well, but I also want to show you our view on how we see AI evolving. And when I'm talking to merchants, most of you tell me we're using AI to assist in our daily work. It helps us structuring data, it helps us translating data, creating context or content. But most of the time, all the manual work in the administration is something you do on your own. You're clicking through the administration, pasting in text, or switching buttons. A few of you already started using agents or also AI with the help of MCP servers to automate stuff, to do stuff more based on natural language. And at the end, we also see coming that there will be autonomous agents that help you working towards outcomes. But most of the times when I'm talking to customers, it's more like in the assist and observe space where most of you are at the moment. And our answer to tackling these things is Copilot. It was part of the keynote. I just want to give a short overview what Copilot is capable of from my point of view. Copilot is something you find in the administration. It's a sidebar where you can ask questions. It can even do things for you. And the nice thing on Copilot is that it can help you onboard new users because it basically can answer everything you want to do in Shopware and tell you how to do it if you want to go the manual work way. But it also can help you understanding better your data because it can draw graphs and also show you tables based on your data. You can ask for the product performance, for the best-selling categories, for newsletter registration. So you can basically ask all kind of data, and it can show you that in a graph. And that's also good for us because we're getting a lot of requests on, oh, can you extend Shopware Analytics to show also XYZ? You can just ask Copilot now and it can draw the graph for you. We don't need to provide it as a new feature. It's already possible with Copilot. And additionally to that, you can also export this data. You can show it in tables. So you can talk to your data. And also it has an activity stream and shows you what you asked recently. But I think the more interesting part is it can do things now for you. It can create products. It can create promotions, it can change translations, change settings, it can bulk updates, updating multiple products, adding translations, changing categories, changing prices, creating content for you. So there's a lot of stuff already possible, especially in the optimizing of data area. And it also can help you with your daily tasks. So all of the manual clicking through the administration you're currently doing, you can sometimes offload to Copilot and it can do it for you. And one anecdotal evidence I want to give you is that 2 months ago I was on the customer cycle event in Stuttgart, and there were a lot of questions on search customizations, search configuration, and how to do it. Now you can just ask Copilot for examples on how to optimize your search. You just need to give some search results you're currently getting and what you would love to have, and it can help you optimize your search settings or even add synonyms to your products automatically without you even writing up all the synonyms you want to create. So Copilot really helps you to automate parts of your daily doing and also reduce the manual clicking to the administration. Copilot itself is embedded within our Intelligence Plus subscriptions, so it's part of a broader offering. It is free to use for everyone from the start, so you have a certain usage as part of your plans. Also, free CE users have the possibility to try out Copilot up to a certain usage. And if you want to use more, there's our Intelligence Plus subscription that helps you to even use more of it. But Intelligence Plus also contains more features around spatial tooling, our image editor, the CAD to 3D conversion we're offering, but also, for example, our review translations feature. So there are a lot of features embedded, but it's free to use from the beginning, and you can try it out every time if it helps you in your daily work. Coming to the last part of my presentation, it is about how shoppers interact with the platform. And I think you see the pattern. I've started with developers, got to merchants, and now I'm talking about shoppers. And if you look at how the life of shoppers are changing, it is definitely a change in discoverability of products. I think that's something you already see. People start asking ChatGPT about what is the nicest product for a certain category they're looking for. But we still think there will be a split between rational buying decisions and emotional buying decisions. On one hand, machine-to-machine interaction is typically more on the agentic side, like on the rational buying decision side, where machines can decide what to buy and at what time. But still there's a place for humans, because if you think about it, I personally love to shop. If I'm interested in something, I love to browse online shops, get information about a product, read about a product, maybe even look through videos. So there's an emotional component that you can't replace just with an agent doing it for you. And this will still be the case. Maybe the interaction changes. Maybe in the future there won't be any storefronts, we don't know. But the emotional human component will still be there because people love to shop, they love to explore products, and this is the thing we need to concentrate on, and that is the part where you also can start winning. So if you're looking at agentic commerce, and I showed a slide before, we see this fundamental change. And one of these changes is that also organic discovery will change. SEO has matured over time. I still remember the old Wild West days where nobody really understood how search engine optimization works. Everyone tried out several things, and it was all a bit unknown. But over time, there was a lot of knowledge provided by Google. There was a lot of people that really got proficient in doing it and understood the logic of how search optimization works. But now generative engine optimization enters the game. And generative engine optimization will be really important and will be something you start caring about in the future as well. And it's mainly because, as I said, commerce is rebuilt around data, AI, and agents. So what is generative engine optimization? And generative engine optimization is mostly about how LMMs understand and recommend your business. It cares about context, so about high product quality data or quality data in general. It cares about structure, how machine readable is the data, and it cares about authority, so how often is this data mentioned, or are you mentioned as credible source of information? And this is all new. Some standards are already well known, others will come in time, similar to early SEO days. It's some kind of Wild West, but you need to start to care about it. So how do we support you with generative engine optimization? And we released an agentic commerce plugin in the store that helps you to set up product feeds for OpenAI and Google Gemini. At the moment, it's not possible for you customers. It will be in the future, and as soon as it's open for you customers, we are prepared. You can provide your product data to these platforms. It also includes the new sales channels that help you track these sales coming from these channels, and also the agentic commerce protocol and the universal commerce protocol to make sure that also these agents in the future can do checkouts with your online shop, and also you can receive the payments and so on. You can get the beta via the community store and just start using it, so it's already available for everyone. And I want to end with this slide. Data is context, and that is really important. So the richest, most structured data is going to make the difference in this new world. And open source supports you with that. And the main message of my presentation is you need to start orchestrate your data and workflows. We need to set the right context within your online shop. Thank you for your time, and have a nice day.